Are you ready for my first TBR of 2026? Wild. Wildness. I'm really excited about this TBR. I am generally just a little bit, a squidge superstitious about not only my first TBR of the year, but also the first book I read of the year. And I have had such a good run with first books of the year for the last, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 years. And I am feeling pretty confident about this year too. So I'm excited to share that with you. This TBR is going to be fun for several reasons. One, it's entirely too large, and it's always fun to watch someone say, I'm going to read this, and no, they're not going to read all of that. But it's lovely to watch them dream. And it's also going to be fun because you're going to get a sneak peek at a bunch of my plans for the year, because this TBR reflects a lot of those plans. Coming to Vlogmas, there's just so many book-related videos. Today, of course, is my TBR. Yesterday, you will have seen an invitation to read these with me in 2026, which is really exciting to me. Tomorrow, you're going to see a video about the 26 books from my shelves that I want to read in 2026. Then you're going to see my birthday book haul, which is super, super exciting for me because it's my birthday. And I've been gathering and being given books all year long that I have not let myself read, that I have tucked away. 2026 for me, I think, is going to be the year of the series. I am very, very excited about the series that I have picked. Some of them are going to tick off lifelong dreams. Some of them are going to just complete things that have been going on for way too long. And some of them are going to revisit old friends. So very excited about that. But you're also going to see that I am doing for the very first time a set of self-destruct books. I'm calling them my shelf destruct books because I keep Freudian slipping that. So when you watch that video, you'll hear me interchangeably using shelf and self. It's not intentional. So I just gonna go with it from here on out and say shelf destruct books. You're also going to get my first ever bookshelf tour. Oh my goodness. But there will be spoilers in this for that because I won't tell you what they are, but you might figure it out. But because it's a bunch of books that I'm going to do some rereads of. And I keep pointing because I'm just showing you these shelves because these are my TBR shelves for 2026. So I'm going to be doing some rereads, and those are on these shelves now. And I've also pulled some of my veteran TBR books, veteran books that have been on my shelf for years and years and years that I haven't gotten to. So you're going to get to see everything that's on my potential TBR, everything that I am going to be focused on and pulling from. I don't intend to read all 4,000 of those books, but that's where I'm going to be pulling from for the most part. So lots of fun bookish content to come this week. Let's stop chatting and just dive right in to what we're reading in January, how we're starting the year. So first I'm going to mention our Books Love Everyone book club picks. They're two very short little books. One is a reread for me and one is brand new. So we have the fiction novella, The Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett. You will have already seen a video about this, so I'm not going to say anything now. And the other is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. Again, you've already seen a video about introducing these, so I won't say anything more. Looking forward to reading those. They will be among some of the first that I read, but not the first, because I have reserved that for something completely different. I'm also this year, because he put a bunch of, who is he? Benjamin McAvoy. He runs the Hardcore Literature Book Club. I'm sure you've seen it. This year I'm going to do it because he actually had multiple books that I already had on my own shelf. Multiple. I was going to read these anyway. We'll see how that goes. But there are 4 books for that to read in the next 2 months. One is Lonesome Dove, which I'm not going to attempt to start this month. And then there are 3 Greek plays: Oedipus Rex, Orestes, I don't ever know how to say that. Medea. I did not have Medea. I've actually never read Medea, so that'll be exciting. I've read the other. I don't know how to say it, but I've read it. And I have been trying to read Sophocles again for such a long time. So this is Antigone, Oedipus Rex, and Electra. I am going to read all of them. I have never read Electra. I've read the other two. Antigone is one of my favorites. I love it. I used to have a cat named Antigone. But I plan on reading this for Hardcore Literature Club in the month of January. And the other three I will read in February. Plans are already made. I have a desire to reread this gorgeous beast. This is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. It's been a very long time since I read this, and I want to do a reread. It's a huge chunker. I feel like January, February is the best time to read this. So I'm going to give myself 2 months. I'm going to start it. And I'm going to give myself 2 months to read this. And then I am doing 26 books that I want to read in 2026. And the first one I'm going to start out with, I'm not going to give myself a time limit. I'm just going to keep reading it until I'm done, even if it takes me more than a year, which I hope it won't. I think it's going to, I'm taking a guess that it's going to take me 4 to 5 months to read this, but we're going to start in January. It'll be on every TBR until it's done, and I'll check in at the end of every month about how far I've gotten, where we've gotten with it. But that is Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen. And there is no reason except for fear that I have not tried to read this before. But again, I am not going to give myself a time limit. I want to take my time. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to push or stress. I have it on audio. I have this. I plan on going through every note, every reference. I want to really read it. So we'll start it in January, and I'm very excited about that. I will also be asking my friends for 12 and 12 recommendations. And I haven't done that yet, and I haven't gotten any recommendations yet. So I will have a book to read for that too. And those are the books that I have to read in the month of January. You can see that I'm kind of going back to my roots a little bit with some classics. I really, really want to read more classics again. I used to be a predominantly classics reader. When I started this channel, I was reading because I was doing a project, but I was reading two Dickens a month, plus other enjoyable classics. And I just want to get back into that. There's something really lovely about classic literature. And every Victober, when Victober ends, I think I need to do this all year long. When Jane Austen July ends, I think I need to do this all year long. And I just have kind of gotten away from it because it takes more brain power. It's a little bit more exhausting. You read it a little bit slower as a general rule, maybe not Dickens, but other things. And I have this sheer quantity of things I desire deeply to read. So I kind of put classics to the side, but I am a classics girly and I really want to get back to that. You'll see a lot of classics this year and I'm excited about that. I'm really, really excited about that. You'll see the other things too, and I think there'll be a really nice balance. I have a stack of fiction here that I would like to read this month. And we'll see. I'm going to move my coffee over here because I'm about to start to lose space as I shift books around. I'm going to tell you first about 2 that have been on my TBR for a really long time that I would like to read. This is one of the very first books I got after joining BookTube. I got it from Better World Books. I had never heard of it. It appealed to me and then I never read it. It's blurbed by someone I did not know at the time, but now I read it and I'm like, oh, Shauna Maguire. So Shauna Maguire was stunned and aghast at the beauty of Winter Tale. No, Wintertide. Wintertide. So I'm going to be trying to read Wintertide. It's a science fiction, I think. Back when I was doing newbie stuff and still trying to figure out who I was and what I enjoyed, I did a big order from Book Outlet, and this is one of the books that was on there, and I hauled it. So you can see it in one of my very first, if not my first haul, and never picked it up. But I also haven't gotten rid of it over the years. I've moved twice since then and have shed quite a few books, but I kept this one. So let's see. It says, after attacking Devil's Reef in 1928, the U.S. government rounded up the people of Innsmouth and took them to the desert, far from their ocean, their deep one ancestors, and their sleeping god, Cthulhu. Isn't that a thing? Cthulhu. I feel like that's a thing. I think it's something beyond this story. Only Afra and Caleb Marsh survived the camps, and they emerged without a past or a future. The government that stole Afra's life now needs her help. FBI agent Ron Spector believes that communist spies have stolen dangerous magical secrets from Miskatonic University. Secrets that could turn the Cold War hot in an instant and hasten the end of the human race. Afra must return to the ruins of her home, gather the scraps of her stolen history, and assemble a new family to face the darkness of human nature. Interesting. Okay, so it is definitely science fiction. It's got some commentary to do on the Cold War, maybe the McCarthy era. Very interesting for our current day. I just pulled it because I was like, oh, I've had that for a long time. Let's read that. It also sounds like some hints or some throwbacks to historical events, like maybe Japanese incarceration, maybe Trail of Tears. I don't know. It sounds like it's reminiscent of a lot of real things, but it's very fictional. And so, yeah, we'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. The other one is by an author who I have read other things by and really loved, and I am hopeful that I will love this. Usually I have an author that I plan to read one a month from for the whole year, and I don't really have that this year. No, nobody has really inspired that for me this year yet. If I enjoy this may be something that I kind of unofficially try to do, is read something by her every month. I don't even know how many she has. I think more than 12, but we'll see. Who is it? Just tell us. That's Susanna Kersley. The Winter Sea is the first book in a trilogy, and I only own this one, and I think I got it because Kate Howe was going to read it at some point with, she used to run a little book group, and I think that is why I purchased it in the first place. And then I ended up not reading it, and I still have it, and I'd still like to read it. Bellwether by Susanna Kersley is one of my favorite books. I've reread it several times over the years, over the past decade or so. I've tried other things by her, and it just hasn't been the time. And I've tried other things by her and have loved them. I've not read this trilogy before. It intrigues me. It does. So this says, history has all but forgotten. In the spring of 1708, an invading Jacobite fleet of French and Scottish soldiers nearly succeeded in landing the exiled James Stuart in Scotland to reclaim his crown. Now, Carrie McClelland hopes to turn that story into her next best-selling novel. Settling herself in the shadow of Slains Castle, she creates a heroine named for one of her own ancestors and starts to write. But when she discovers her novel is more fact than fiction, Carrie wonders if she might be dealing with an ancestral memory, making her the only living person who knows the truth, the ultimate betrayal that happened all those years ago, and that knowledge comes very close to destroying her. I'm very excited about that. But those are two books that have been on my shelf for a long time, and so that will be awesome to get them off my shelf. Moving forward, I have to control my January TBR so closely for my own superstitious feelings. But moving forward in February, I'm gonna start playing a little game I have a deck of Jane Austen playing cards, and I have a similar deck of Bronte playing cards, and I'm gonna start playing a game to see what I will be reading from off of my my OG shelves. And mixed in there are rereads and books that never got read that need some love. So each month I'm not going to know really what will be pulled off of there, but we'll play a little game to let fate kind of decide from what I've curated what we'll read each month. But in January, I have to have a little more shelf control. So we'll start that in February. But I also have 2 Book of the Month books that need some attention. I've got the Book of Lost Hours, which I did start and was enjoying, but really felt like it was more of a wintry feeling read for me. I don't think it takes place in winter, but the content felt more wintry. So I actually stopped reading it when it must have been an add-on, not an actual. Yeah, it was an add-on. I stopped reading it whatever month I got it and put it on a pile specifically for January. So the Book of Lost Hours says, enter the time space, a soaring library filled with books and containing the memories of those who have passed and accessed only by specially made watches once handed down from father to son, but now mostly in government hands. This is where 11-year-old Elizabeth Levy finds herself trapped in 1938, waiting for her watchmaker father to return. When he doesn't, she grows up among the books and specters, able to see the world only by sifting through the memories of those who came before her. As she realizes that government agents are entering the time space to destroy books and maintain their perfect version of history, she sets about saving these scraps in her own volume of memories until the appearance of an American spy named Ernest Duquesne in 1949 offers her a glimpse of the world she left behind, setting her on a course to change history and possibly the time-space itself. In 1965, 16-year-old Amelia De Quincey is mourning the disappearance of her uncle Ernest when an enigmatic CIA agent approaches her to enlist her help in tracking down a book of memories her uncle had once sought. But as Amelia visits the time space for the first time, she realizes that the past and the truth might not be as linear as she'd like to believe. And then I got this one in November and didn't get to it, but I do think that January might be a good time for it, and if I don't get to it in January, then I'll wait till September. And that is an academic affair by Jodi McAllister. So this says she's the one test he can't ace. Sadie Shaw and Jonah Fisher have been academic rivals since they first crossed paths as undergraduates in the literature department 15 years ago. In the cutthroat world of academia, opportunities are scarce and competition is ruthless. Now postdocs thrust into professional uncertainty, they'll both do anything to find some stability. So when a highly coveted teaching position comes up, their rivalry hits epic proportions. Jonah needs the job to move closer to his recently divorced sister and her children, while Sadie needs the financial security and freedom of a full-time teaching position. Once Sadie notices that the university offers partner hire, however, she hatches a plot to get them both the job. All they need to do is get legally married. It's a simple win-win solution. But when sparks begin to fly, it becomes clear that despite their education, these two may not have thought this whole thing through. I also have a romance here. This is Rules for Second Chances, Same Marriage, New Love Story by Maggie North. Doesn't that just look like a January book? It says, Liz Lewis has tried everything to be what people want, but she's always felt like an introverted misfit in the boisterous world of wilderness expeditions. That is, if anyone notices her at all. Her flatlining marriage to extroverted adventure guide Tobin Renan Lewis is a sinkhole of toxic positivity. In a mountain resort town built around excitement, Liz gets stuck with spreadsheets. The humiliation of being mistaken for a server at her own 30th birthday party leaves Liz desperate to stop playing a minor character in her own life. Her thoroughly researched plan for social success? A crash course in confidence via an improv comedy class. The problem, she's terrible at it, and the only person willing to help her practice is Tobin, who seems dead set on saving their marriage, one bonkers improv scenario at a time. But as they grow closer again, she's forced to confront every reason they didn't work the first time, along with her growing suspicion that her differences might go deeper than simple social awkwardness. Liz has just 8 weeks to master improv's biggest life lesson, yes and, or she'll have to choose between the love she's always wanted and the dreams that got away. You know she's going to choose both. She's going to get both somehow, some way. Tobin will make sure. That just sounds lovely. You don't read a whole lot of romance books about a husband and wife, so that sounds lovely. This one I'm excited about. It was almost going to be my first book of the year, but no, that hasn't been told to you yet. But this is Wish I Were Here by Melissa Weisner. And I read another Melissa Weisner a couple of years ago as my first book of the year. And it was kind of like Big, the movie Big. There was this self-fulfilling prophecy that kind of changes everything for this girl on New Year's Eve, and everything kind of goes the way she thought it should be going, but that means it all falls apart, and then she has to like work her way back to where she was and understand that was the place to jump off from into the life she wanted. That didn't make a whole lot of sense unless you've read that book, but this is another one by her. I'm excited about this one. It's Wish I Were Here. It says Catherine Lipton carefully calculates everything, and not just because she's a math professor. She had a chaotic childhood growing up with a free-spirited single dad. So now from her daily to-dos to her afternoon snacks, Catherine has a plan for it all. But sometimes she wishes she could be someone else, someone with a totally different life, until suddenly her entire identity, from her social security number to her driver's license to her academic record, mysteriously disappear. There's no evidence Catherine Lipton ever existed. With no ID and no other options, Catherine reluctantly accepts help from her exasperatingly laid-back and infuriatingly attractive doorman, Luca Morelli. Before long, by the book's Catherine finds herself bending all the rules with the charismatic Luca, from taking meetings in smoky bars to breaking into hospital record rooms and having a surprising amount of fun. As Catherine unravels the truth behind her identity's disappearance, she may discover that the real Catherine has been missing for a lot longer than she realized. That sounds fun. That sounds very fun. I am jumping on the Julianne Donaldson train. I know that everybody loves Edenbrook. I also have Edenbrook, but Blackmore, the story, sounds more appealing to me, particularly for January. So I'm going to give this one a try as well. This one says Kate Worthington knows she can never marry the man she loves. So she plans to travel to India instead, if only to find peace for her restless spirit and to escape the family she abhors. But Kate's meddlesome mother has other plans. She makes a bargain with Kate. India, yes, but only after Kate has secured and rejected 3 marriage proposals. Kate journeys to the stately manor of Blackmore, determined to fulfill her end of the bargain. There she enlists the help of her dearest childhood friend, Henry Delafield. But when it comes to matters of love, bargains are meaningless and plans are changeable. In the wild, windswept countryside near the coast of northern England, Kate must face the truth that has kept her heart captive. Will the proposal she is determined to reject actually be the one thing that will set her heart free? Set in the 1820s, Blackmore is a Regency romance that tells the captivating story of a young woman struggling to learn to follow her heart. So I'm very excited to finally be picking this up. Julianne Moore has been on my list of authors I should get to know for quite a while. I have this one, which just looks so good for January. If I don't get to it in January, I will probably wait until December. Full disclosure. This is called The Black Feathers by Rebecca Netley. When a spirit visits, they leave a trace. So I don't know if you can tell, but these are all like crow feathers all around. I love it. I love the cover so much. And this one says, where ghosts tread, black feathers fall. When Annie when Annie marries widower Edward Stonehouse and arrives at Guardbridge, his windswept estate on the Yorkshire moors, she thinks she has finally put the darkness of her past behind her. She is mistaken. Edward's sister Iris still lives in the family home, a taxidermist and medium. She urges Annie to watch out for black feathers, claiming that they mark the spot where a restless spirit has walked. At first, Annie dismisses her warnings and the black feathers she finds in the house. But one night she cannot ignore two horrifying words drawn on the mirror in her bedroom. See me. What exactly happened to Edward's first wife and young son? Why is his sister so disturbed? And what does this ghostly visitor want with Annie? That sounds so fun. So fun. And then this is one I've been wanting to read for a while. I think I first saw Lauren in the Books talk about this, but maybe it wasn't Lauren in the Books. Maybe it was somebody else. It's been a while though. This is The Square of Sevens by Laura Shepard Robinson, and it says on it, a sprawling, exquisite, outright triumph, and a delicious puzzle box of a novel. So this is, on the back it says, Fortune Favors the Bold. Cornwall, 1730. A young girl known only as Red travels with her father, making a living predicting fortunes using the ancient Cornish method of the Square of Sevens. Before he dies, her father entrusts Red's care to a gentleman scholar, along with a document containing the secret of the Square of Sevens technique. Raised as a lady amidst the Georgian splendor of Bath, Red and her fortune-telling delight high society. But she cannot ignore the questions that gnaw at her soul. Who was her mother? How did she die? And who are the mysterious enemies her father was always terrified would find him? The pursuit of these mysteries takes her from Cornwall and Bath to London and Devon, from the rough ribaldry of the Bartholomew Fair to the grand houses of two of the most powerful families in England. And while Red's quest brings her the possibility of great reward, it also leads to grave danger, because someone else is searching for the secret of the Square of Sevens, and probably for Red herself. So good. Such a January book. I'm going to continue in these three series. I'm going to pick up the second book in ACOTAR. So, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Right after I finally finished A Court of Thorn and Roses, ACOTAR, right after I finally finished A Court of Thorn and Roses, I immediately wanted to pick up A Court of Mist and Fury, but then lagged just a little bit and lost all the momentum. And that seems to be how I read Sarah J. Maas. I have to be in just the perfect space for Sarah J. Maas. And I want to finish this series. I want to read the series. I just, for whatever reason, struggle to maintain that desire when I enter the world, when I re-enter. It took me such a long time to actually read the first book, but when I finally did, I really, really enjoyed my time with it. I just need to be in the right headspace for this. I think I am right now. A Court of Mist and Fury. I definitely want to read the series this year, and I'm going to give myself 2 months. I'm giving myself January and February to read that one. I'm going to pick up the fourth book in this series, Gabrielle Meyer's timeless series, Across the Ages. I've had just a love affair with this series. Did not like the second book, but loved the first and the third books. This one says, Carolyn holds a deep secret. Living in 1727 and 1927 simultaneously, each night she goes to sleep in one life and wakes up in the other. That's how time travel works in this world. In search of answers to her unique existence, Carolyn stumbles upon a letter from her mother hinting at her own experience as a time crosser, sending Carolyn on a daring quest to uncover the truth. In 1727, Carolyn disguises herself as a cabin boy and joins a ship sailing for the Bahamas, her mother's last known location, where she crosses paths with a ruthless but handsome pirate and is caught in a web of secrets, deception, and unexpected alliances. In 1927 St. Paul, Minnesota, Carolyn grapples with her other life as the daughter of a renowned preacher. Oh, so in one she's a pirate and in one she's a preacher. The preacher's daughter. Well, that's all we'll say. So I am looking forward to this one. I know people really, really love this one, but it's gonna be a romp. And then I am gonna pick up the last book in the most recent trilogy by Cassandra Clare, the only trilogy, the only set of books by Cassandra Clare that I have ever read. But I have a whole lot more Cassandra Clare on my shelf this year, a whole lot more. And we're going to be reading Cassandra Clare every month. It doesn't mean that I'm going to read everything by her. Like I just said, I usually pick an author, blah, blah, blah. I have one 6-book series by her that I want to read this year. I want to read this year. And I also have Swordcatcher, which I would like to read this year. And you'll see all of that in videos to come. But for now, let's just focus on this. I need to read the last book in this trilogy in the Last Hours, book 3. So this is book 3 of the Last Hours trilogy in her Shadowhunters series. I need to read all the previous Shadowhunters, which I now have and which I will read. I know that she is either loved or hated. I know she gets a lot of flack for some of the storylines and things. I find her writing to be fun and escapist, and I've really enjoyed this series. So this one is, it says, Can Love Survive the Harshest Truth? It's about Cordelia Carstairs. I really can't tell you, I'm reading the back here, and I really can't tell you anything about this because it is the third and final book, and you have to have read the series, and I don't want to mess anything up for you. That looks super thick. It is super thick, but they read so quickly. If I have a weekend, I can definitely get through that book. I'm going to talk about this one. All right. So here is, I got distracted trying to get the sticker off, and it is very, it'll come off, but it is also really attached to this book. I can't do two things at once, so I'll get the sticker off later. This is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings Part 1. Guess who's never read The Lord of the Rings? Me. And I picked up used copies of all 3 of the books, and I'm going to read them this year. I am not going to push myself on this. I'm going to give myself as long as it takes to get through this, but I'm going to start it in January. And I have read The Hobbit multiple times. I love The Hobbit, but I've never... Oh, and I read The Silmarillion. My first year in living in India. I read a lot of books my first year living in India, and it was one of the books in the library that I checked out and read, and I found it very interesting. I do really like origin mythology, and so that's basically what that is. And I don't remember details, but I do remember just the richness of the language and the beauty of the story that I was just kind of reading and osmosis, like just picking up the vibe, and I enjoyed it. I've read The Hobbit very differently from that. I love The Hobbit, and I just recently reread The Hobbit a couple of years ago. I think I'm the kind of reader now that can love this, and I'm gonna give it a try, and I feel very firmly that I am gonna enjoy this. I'm excited to join the huge club of people in the world who have read and loved Lord of the Rings. Okay, so I have 2 pre-orders coming in. One is Rulers of the Heart by Janice Hadlow, which I spoke at length about in my, I'll put a picture of it here, but I spoke at length about this in my anticipated reads video, and also A Box Full of Hearts, which I also spoke about in my anticipated reads video. Both of these are on my January TBR, and I assume that I will get through both of them. I tend to read the newest things that come to me before I read other things, so I'm pretty sure I'll get to those when they arrive. Oh, and I have one gift card right now, and will probably receive several more from students over, for Christmas. but I'm going to use some of that gift card that I have to get Jane Kirkpatrick's Across the Crying Sands. I'm holding off because I also have it on my wish list of gifts for my family. So I don't want to get it in case somebody else is going to get it for me. And if they don't, then I'm going to pop into Barnes & Noble and grab a copy of this or order it online. Sometimes stores don't carry Jane Kirkpatrick, but she is a local to me author. She lives in Oregon, a state very close to me. And this is about women in the 1800s living on Cannon Beach, which is a place on the Oregon coast where I have lived. Not just Oregon, but Cannon Beach itself. So I love Jane Kirkpatrick's writing. She is one of the few Christian authors that I carried with me when I kind of left Christian fiction for decades. I still would read Jane Kirkpatrick. She's a very solid historical fiction storyteller. And dense. Her work is kind of dense, but I really, really love it. And she writes about the Pacific Northwest in particular. She often writes from the perspective of Native American tribes up here, but I don't think that is what this one is. Maybe it's there, but I keep getting texts and people keep walking outside, so I'm very distracted by things. Apologies. I'm definitely going to be reading that this month. Let's look at, I have 2 stacks of types of books left. So let's look at nonfiction first. One more book that I plan on using some of that gift card for, and that is Gary Lightbody's The Forest is the Path. This is a very short memoir by the lead singer and head lyricist of Snow Patrol. Snow Patrol is my favorite musical band. And they just released a couple of years ago an album for the first time in such a long time. And for 2 years now, I've been listening, a year and a half, I've been listening to it nonstop. I adore the new album, and I love most of their old albums too. And he has put out this memoir, very, very short memoir about losing his father. And I want to read it. I want to own it. And so I will be purchasing that and reading that. I think it's like a 1-sit read. Like, it's very short, I think. I'm also going to use an Audible credit because I want to hear this. I want to hear it more than I want to like physically own it. After I listen to it, if it's something that I feel like is something I want to mark up, I'll purchase a physical copy. But I'm going to use a credit to get Joanna Page's Lush. So she is a British actress, and she is Stacey in Gavin and Stacey, and Gavin and Stacey is my favorite show. And it's over. It finished in 2024. It finally finished after such a long time. We'll talk about that more in another upcoming video where I talk about my favorite Christmas things, favorite Christmas movies, TV shows, cartoons. That's coming soon, but not this week. And I will tell you more about that show. But and actually I'll tell you more in a moment too. But I am really looking forward to reading this little memoir that she's put out. And lush is one of the things that she says all the time. It means like cool, that's great, whatever. She's supposed to be from Wales. She's supposed to be Welsh. And she might actually be, the actress might actually be, I'm not sure. I don't think she is. I think she's British, but she's supposed to be from Wales. Stacey is. And she says, oh, that's lush all the time. And so the name of this memoir is Lush. And I really just want to hear her tell me stories because I love her. I just love her. And I just really want to hear her tell me stories. I don't even really know what it's about, like what part of her life or what she's going to talk about. I just want to hear her tell me stories. So I'm going to love that. And here is my first book of the year. When Gavin Met Stacey and Everything in Between by Ruth Jones and James Corden. So Ruth Jones and James Corden are the writers and creators of Gavin and Stacey. And as I have just said, Gavin and Stacey is my favorite show. And last year it ended. And that is a big deal because the first season, let me get my years right. The first season aired in 2007. 2007. And the second season aired in 2008. There was a Christmas special in 2008. The third season aired in 2009, and it ended on a cliffhanger. And the next time we saw them was a Christmas special in 2019. 10 years later. And it ends on a gigantic, a ginormous cliffhanger. And we don't get the results of that cliffhanger until December 25th, 2024. Then, on December 25th, 2024, the series ended. And they're very, very clear about not wanting to sully the gorgeousness of the series with kind of trying to keep it alive in unnatural ways, you know? So this is it. This is the end. It is over. And it's so good and so sad. So I feel about Gavin and Stacey the same way that I feel about Schitt's Creek. I love both of those shows because they follow these characters and develop these characters throughout in such a loving way. And yes, there's the Gavin and Stacey story, but they're kind of the straights. What you really have is the relationship that won't quite get off the ground between their two best friends, Nessa and Smithy. Smithy is played by James Corden. Nessa is played by Ruth Jones. And it is the most brilliant show. I just absolutely love it. And I rewatched the whole thing from start to finish last Christmas break in preparation for finally getting to see the very end of the show, which did not disappoint. It did not disappoint at all. And I might just watch it from start to finish this year again too. But in January, I'm going to start the year by reading When Gavin Met Stacey. And oh my gosh, I just love it so much. So this says, just all the little planning notes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this says, Gavin and Stacey is a TV series like no other, taking us into the sort of world that many know, but which is rarely seen on TV. Now, for the first time, its creators tell the full, extraordinary story of how they turned their little show into a full-on cultural phenomenon. As they recount the rejections, obstacles, and challenges they faced along the way, Ruth and James explore the journey of their real-life friendship. While they're now legendary on-screen characters, Nessa and Smithy had a profound awkwardness to negotiate. Ruth and James forged a magical relationship of mutual support, based also on a deep shared sense of subversive fun. You're the head girl, and I'm in detention, right? Full of revelations and anecdotes, never before seen work scripts and photographs, this one-of-a-kind memoir takes you behind the scenes of one of the most iconic and beloved shows in British television history. Here are the details of what's occurred, because Nessa always says, "What's occurring?" to say hello. Here are the details of what's occurred every step of the way, from initial pitch to final day of filming and all the love that followed. I'm gonna tear up right here, right now. Oh my goodness. This show is just so dear to my heart. It's just these characters. These characters are so dear to my heart. Every single one. You just love every single one. I plan on reading this first in the year. I also should probably say to those of you who in America, most people who watch me live in the States, this is not yet available. This is not yet for sale in the States. It's been out in England for a while. It comes out on January 6th. but I just couldn't wait. I actually got it in November. It's been sitting with me for that long. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And that will be my first book of the year. I don't think I can lose. I don't think I can lose with reading that one first. I'm also really excited about this because it too is not out in the States yet. Let me find out when it is coming out, because I know a lot of people will want to read this one. Okay, so this one is also coming out in the States in January, on January 13th. I did not realize, but I actually got a signed copy. This is Jung Chang's Fly Wild Swans, My Mother, Myself, and China. And this is her follow-up to her memoir that she wrote, which was life-changing for me as I read it while living in China. Wild Swans. She wrote Wild Swans, and I read Wild Swans while living in China for the first time. Back in 1999, I read it, and it was absolutely life-changing for me as I was living in that setting, that location. It helped me so very much understand a lot of the dynamics that I was seeing and unable to really like put my finger on. And so, and it's life-changing for people who've never been there as well. It's just a very impactful memoir. One of the best memoirs I've ever read, ever, by anybody, ever. It's so good. And she's got this follow-up. It's very short in comparison to Wild Swans. But this one says, Jung Chang's Wild Swans was a book that defined a generation, an epic personal history of Jung, her mother, and her grandmother, 3 daughters of China. The book opens in 1909 with her grandmother's birth and foot binding, when China was under the last emperor, moving through Mao Zedong's rule, especially the Cultural Revolution, during which Jung's parents were subjected to horrendous ordeals because of their courage. It finishes in 1978 when Deng Xiaoping officially ended the Mao era and started the reforms. Jung, at that propitious juncture, became one of the first Chinese to leave communist China for the West. Nearly half a century on, China has risen from a decrepit and isolated state to a global power, the challenger to the United States' dominant position in the world. Through those decades, Jung's life has been intimately entwined with her native land. Her experiences dealing with the regime in those years were rich and revealing, especially so because all her books were and are banned. So she's also written a very comprehensive biography of the last empress and of Mao Zedong. So both of those, I'm sure, have been banned, and definitely Wild Swans. Although I had a copy of it and read it in China, I suppose I was probably doing something subversive there, but I didn't think about it at the time. Anyway, maybe it wasn't banned yet. I don't know. Fly Wild Swans is the follow-up to Wild Swans and brings the story of Jung's family along with that of China up to date. The book is in many ways Jung's love letter to her mother. It is inevitably also about her grandmother and father, both of whom died tragically in the Cultural Revolution, but are often recalled in this book. In fact, the past is never far away in Jung's subsequent life. It has shaped her and molded the present China, and what's more, it promises to herald the future. China is now at another watershed moment with the era of Chairman Xi Jinping greatly affecting the lives of Jung and her mother. Fly Wild Swans is Jung's heartfelt response to that experience, and a book filled with drama, love, curiosity, and incredible history, both personal and global. Ultimately uplifting, told in Jung's clear, honest, and compelling voice, it is memoir writing at its best. And there she is. Oh, yeah, definitely looking forward to reading this. Definitely looking forward. And again, I didn't know that I was getting a signed copy. I just saw it and was like, ooh, I don't want to wait. But there is her signature, and that is so exciting. Thanks, Blackwells. The Mystical Nature Diary of Opal Whiteley, The Singing Creek Where the Willows Grow, with a biography and an afterword by Benjamin Hoff. So, Opal Whiteley, if you're from the Pacific Northwest, is someone who you will be familiar with. And if you aren't, I'd be very surprised if you knew who she was. Opal Whiteley. It says, I'll read the back and then I'll tell you what I already know. Opal Whiteley, nature's mystery child. Long before environmental consciousness became popular, a young nature writer named Opal Whiteley captured America's heart. Opal's childhood diary, published in 1920, became an immediate bestseller, one of the most talked about books of its time. Wistful, funny, and wise, it was described by an admirer as the revelation of the life of a feminine Peter Pan of the Oregon wilderness. So innocent, so intimate, so haunting that I should not know where in all literature to look for a counterpart. But the diary soon fell into disgrace. Condemning it as an adult-written book, skeptics stirred a scandal that drove the book into obscurity and shattered the frail spirit of its author. Discovering the diary by chance, best-selling author Benjamin Hoff set out to solve the long-standing mystery of its origin. His biography of Opal that accompanies this diary provides fascinating proof that the document is indeed authentic. The work of a magically gifted child, America's forgotten interpreter of nature. A double delight, Hoff's understanding biography and the loveliness of the diary itself. Opal Whiteley. I'm looking for some photos. Opal Whiteley. She was this young girl, homesteader's daughter in Oregon, and she wrote pages and pages and pages of diary entries like this. And they were published, and people were like, there's no way that a child wrote these words. For example, some words. Today the folks are gone away from the house we do live in. They are gone a little way away to the ranch house where the grandpa does live. I sit on our steps and I do print. I like it, this house we do live in, being at the edge of the near woods. So many little people do live in the near woods. I do have conversations with them. I found the near woods first day I did go explores. That was the next day after we were come here. So it is a literal magical diary. She feels like she has relationships with fairies and all sorts of things. But when I'm looking for more pictures. There we go. But when she grows up, I believe she actually spends some time in a mental institution. I'm just curious. Oh, wait, there we go. She said many things about where she came from. Sometimes she said she was part Native American. Sometimes she said she was an Indian princess, like from India. Sometimes she said that she was just a young girl, like any other in the States. Here is another image of her holding some butterflies. I want to read the diary. I've never read the full diary, and I definitely want to get like my facts straight on her. She's kind of a local phenomena, and I feel like I need to know more about her. I'm also going to read this one, which I'm really excited about. This is The Cove, a Cornish Haunting by Beth Lynch. On the back, it says, for 50 years and counting, I have returned again and again on paths that twist deep between hedge banks, stretch over cliff tops, scoured by wind, disappeared into gorse, paths that bump and jolt through now churned valleys and keep company with streams, paths traversing interior landscapes, paths recalled and paths followed feelingly. I am taking one of those paths right now, going back to the cove. And it's blurbed on the back by the likes of Robert McFarlane. So if you're familiar with his writing, I think we will find something similar here. So it says, for over 5 decades, Beth Lynch has been drawn back over and over again to a rocky spot on the North Cornwall coast. Her earliest memories of the Cove are bound up with idyllic family holidays as she grows older. However, her sense of connection with the place grows deeper and more complicated. This slippery interface of land and sea, a site of sheer edges and ledges, peculiar rock formation, and eroding, tumbling slate, becomes her childhood refuge from anxiety and school bullying. Around the time of her parents' death, strange things start to happen in and around the Cove, and Lynch is left wondering how well she really knows this minute section of coast that draws her so ineluctably. Ineluctably. I don't know that I've seen that word before. It is the Cove. Oh, is it the Cove or is it her? What secrets does the Cove have to share? Is she safe staying away? Is she safer staying away? Unfolding through a medium of salt and slate, the elemental indifference of Atlantic Cornwall, the Cove is a lyrical meditation on being a revenant, on haunting and being haunted. Through encounters with quarrymen, wartime women, and an enigmatic archaeologist, along with J.M.W. Turner, Alfred Lord Tennyson, Anthony Trollope, and Thomas and Emma Hardy, Lynch contemplates what happens when our deepest fears materialize, reflecting on mortality and the nuanced ways in which we take leave of our dead. She explores the profound impacts of change in ourselves, in places, and in the transformative dance between the two. So it's the kind of nonfiction that I love. It's literary and nonfiction of place and a little bit of a memoir. It feels very human-centered, but also very setting-centered. It's a little history. It's a mess, and I really like that. So, looking forward to The Cove, A Cornish Haunting. And then I have my last stack, which are a mix of series that I am wanting to revisit this year and a couple of new middle grade series that I would like to try. There's a lot of, let's just call this the nostalgia pile. And you won't see a lot of this every month. You definitely see more of it than I think that I will normally read in January because A, it's new and I want to get the party started, and B, I kind of want to figure out what I want to prioritize. So this is the nostalgia pile, and that could be nostalgia just for like a time period or for something I've already read. Let's start with the one adult thing that is on this. Everything else is middle grade. No, that's not true. There's 2 adult things on here, but we'll start here. I want to reread the series. What is it? What is the name of the series? I don't even know the name of the series. Whatever series this is called. Like Plains Children, Earth's Children, something like that. I'm going to reread this. This is The Clan of the Cave Bear. I have reread The Clan of the Cave Bear, this particular book, a couple of years ago, and then did not continue reading on with the series. Decided it wasn't what I was into at that time, mostly because I was really obsessed with Outlander at that time, which is a series I never did finish, because the series itself is not finished, and when I am in that world, I am really in that world and I need to know what's going to happen next. And so I think I have 4 books left in three books left in the series that have been published now, that have already been published. And I may not ever, now that I'm out of it, I may not ever pick those books up unless she gives us the final book. So, or when she gives us the final book. It takes a lot to like hop out of that series for me. And so I was deep into that series when I tried to do a reread of this series. I've never read the last 2 books in this series. I have them over here. This year, I would really like to focus on reading these. This is definitely a book that I want to read in January, though. And then this is a series that I never read. Ooh, maybe the sticker will come off super easily. It did. Oh, I love that. I love that for me. This is a series I never read, but I always saw my friends reading it. I don't know why I didn't pick it up. I think because it is... Well, first of all, because this is what the author looks like, and that just would not have appealed to me as a kid. And also, it is about animals, and animals tend to be something that I try not to read too much about. But these animals are so humanized. They're so personified that I think I'm going to be okay. It's giving me like Rats of Nim vibes, which I absolutely can read and did read as a kid. But this is the Redwall series by Brian Jacques. I don't know if I'm going to love this or not, but I have nostalgia for the series itself, like for the covers and for that time in my life. And I would love to give this a try this month and see if this is a series that I do want to read. And also just to scratch that itch of this is a thing that I never did read, like Lord of the Rings. This is a thing that I never did read, and I would like to. I would like to give it a try. This is a series that I would like to read. It is a middle grade series, so it's on the nostalgia pile, but it's not one that I have ever read, and that is The Wing Feather Saga. This is the first book in the Wing Feather Saga. Actually, wait, let's go back. Let's read what these are about. I forgot. Clan of the Cave Bear, in case you're unfamiliar. It says, here is a novel of awesome beauty and power, a moving saga about people, relationships, and the boundaries of love. Through Jean Auel's magnificent storytelling, we are taken back to the dawn of mankind and swept up in the wonderful story of a very special heroine, Isla. Her enthralling story is one we all can share. A natural disaster has left young Isla alone, wandering, fending for herself in an unfamiliar land. One day she is discovered by the clan of the Cave Bear, men and women far different from her own people. The tall, blonde, blue-eyed Isla is a mysterious stranger to the clan, and at first they mistrust her and cast her out. But as she grows to know them and to learn the ways of the clan, she is welcomed, and as she leads them in their struggle for survival, the clan comes to worship Isla, for in her blood flows the future of humanity. Oh, it is Earth's Children. Redwall says, welcome to Mossflower Wood, where the gentle mice have gathered to celebrate a year of peace and abundance. All is well until a sinister shadow falls across the ancient stone abbey of Redwall. It is rumored that Clooney is coming. Clooney, the terrible one-eyed cat, and his savage horde. Clooney, who has vowed to conquer Redwall Abbey. The only hope for the besieged mice lays in the lost sword of the legendary Martin the Warrior, and so begins the epic quest of a bumbling young apprentice, a courageous mouse, who would rise up, fight back, and become a legend himself. And then here we are again with the Wing Feather Saga, On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness. Adventure, peril, lost jewels, and the fearsome toothy cows of Scree. Andrew Peterson spins a riveting tale for all ages, following Janner, Tink, and Lily, Igby, and their trusty dog Nugget, as they escape from the vicious fangs of Dang, who seek the lost jewels of Aniera. Quirky characters and their world of wonders. From the edge of the dark sea of darkness is the deadly Glipwood forest, and beyond set the stage for this epic adventure that includes original songs and silly poems, an ex-pirate grandfather, toothy cows and real sea dragons, tours of Ankle Jelly Manor and Pete the Sockman's treehouse, suspenseful legends and fascinating lore, genuine recipes of maggot loaf, authentic hand-drawn maps. I know so many people who love this series so much, and I would really, really like to read it, and it's illustrated. So I think that if that had existed when I was a kid, I would have loved it. This is the other book that is a grown-up book, but it doesn't feel like a grown-up book when you read it. But for whatever reason, I'm really feeling a call to reread some Jeanette Oke this year. And this is the first book in the Love Comes Softly series. Love Comes Softly, the beloved classic. So this says, first published in 1979, Jeanette Oke's beloved classic launched a new wave of inspirational fiction and inspired and captivated readers with its endearing story of loss and love. Adapted for television in 2003 by the Hallmark Channel, it went on to become one of their most watched films ever. Millions have laughed, wept, and rejoiced with Marty and Clark Davies, whose tragic circumstances threw them together suddenly and unexpectedly on the frontier prairies of the late 1800s. For whatever reason, I would really like to reread this series. And there are multiple books in this series that I never read. They weren't published by the time that I stopped reading Jeanette Oke. I know that the writing is not great in these, but this, again, is a nostalgia read. It's a nostalgia read, and I would like to revisit that whole series. The rest of these are all series one standalone from my childhood that I absolutely loved and know that I love and really want to revisit this year. So first, I would like to reread the Harry Potter series, but I would like to listen to it with the new all-star cast. I would like to start from the beginning and go to the end and revisit this story with that all-star cast. I'm really excited about listening to this new production. I am also going to revisit this series, which is a series that I never actually owned. I owned this book. This is a new to me used copy of it. I did own this book though. And after that, I didn't own any of the others, but I borrowed them from one of my best friends. Their family had the entire series and I just had the one. And I've only ever reread or read multiple times this first one, and the rest I read once, I don't know, 40 years ago. So I would definitely like to revisit this series. I have such nostalgia for it. This is a turn of the century story from the backwoods of North Carolina, Mandy and the Secret Tunnel. Mandy Shaw, almost a teenager, is certain God no longer loves her as she watches her father being lowered into his grave. Mandy's move into a neighbor's family home when her mother remarries does not soften her grief. Her only comfort is the promise from her father's faithful Cherokee friend, Uncle Ned, to watch out for her and be a friend. Will Mandy be able to escape her new and nearly intolerable home situation? Will she find her long-lost family? Will the mysterious key unlock the door to the secret tunnel in her own family's history? A delightful mingling of suspense, tears, and joy. Yeah, I have such nostalgia for this series. I never did finish it. It's incredibly long. There's so many books in the series, and I never did read them all, but I'm going to read them all this year. Very excited about that. I also want to revisit this whole series, The Little House in the Big Woods. I own all of these on audio as well, read by Cherry Jones. I own all of these read by Cherry Jones. If you haven't heard her read these, you're really missing out. She does such an amazing job. But I also, I will take all these stickers off, but the only copy that I own of these are from my childhood, and I had a dog once who chewed off the top of several of them on the binding. The books themselves are fine, but Blondie chewed off the tops, and they're yellow and they're aging and they don't bend, and I'm afraid they're going to fall apart. And so I did want to get a new set. As I was researching sets, I realized they're very expensive. And then I realized, wait a minute, I can get them from Better World Books and I can pick what I want. And so I actually am going to, one at a time, purchase a used copy of each of the full color illustration editions of these. I'm going to keep my original copies from the 1970s, maybe 80s, I think 70s though, because those are so nostalgic for me. But I'm also going to have this full color set, and I'm excited about that. And I love listening to this series. I have done a reread of these by just listening, no book, several years ago, and that's why I own them all. So I will listen, but I'm also going to read and have a new experience of the physical with this so that I can have these beautiful full color illustrations. Like, how amazing is it that they do this now? I don't know if the whole series is released in these full color illustrations, but I know at least the first 5 books are. Yeah, really, really excited to have this and to revisit the series. And if you're not familiar, this is the fictionalized life story of Laura Ingalls Wilder and her family as they participated in the great westward expansion. I love this series. And I learned a lot about how to be a good human being from reading and rereading and rereading that series. So looking forward to revisiting that in a new way, a new format. I also want to reread this entire series. I don't own any of these anymore, so I'm collecting all of them again in copies when I can find them with covers that I remember, but they seem to be few and far between now. But I'm going to reread Beverly Cleary's Ramona series. I love the Ramona series. I love it so much. I'm going to listen to these with copies of audio from my library, which has them all. And if I love them, then I'll purchase them on Audible. But I want the physical experience of reading the book too. The first one is Beezus and Ramona. There are, let's see, I will reread all of them, except that Ramona Forever and Ramona's World are new to me. They came out long after I had stopped reading Ramona books. And so I'm excited to have 2 new chapters that I know nothing about for this family. It says, Big Sister Beezus Quimby tries to be patient with her 4-year-old little sister Ramona, but it isn't easy. Not when Ramona powders her nose with marshmallows and invites her nursery school... Powders? Yeah, powders her nose with marshmallows and invites her nursery school class to a party without telling her family. Sometimes Beezus doesn't like Ramona, but the girls are sisters, and that means they will always love each other, just not every single minute. So I plan on rereading that whole series. I'm very excited about that. I am going to reread this whole series. I have reread some of this series several times over the last 10 years, but I've only ever read the entire series once in my whole life. And that is the Chronicles of Narnia. I'm going to read these in chronological order, not in the order in which they were released. So the first one I'm going to read is The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. This is another one of those special editions which has these gorgeous color photos. I actually don't and have never owned a complete series of the Chronicles of Narnia. I've just kind of hodgepodged my way through copies from libraries, and I owned Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I'm sure, and I'm pretty sure I owned The Prince and The Horse and His Boy, but I don't own any of the others. I'm going to start with The Magician's Nephew here and read them in chronological order for the world. And yeah, purchase them one at a time, used copies, but these beautiful color copies. And I do know this series comes complete in these color copies, which is such a fun way to read a book. It says, the secret passage to the house next door leads to a brand new world. This is one of my favorite in the series, one of my favorite books in the series. It says, Narnia, where horses sometimes grow wings and talking beasts are called to life, a new world full of magic where the adventure begins. Diggory and Polly meet and become friends one cold, wet summer in London. Their lives burst into adventure when Uncle Andrew, who thinks he is a magician, sends them hurtling to somewhere else. They find their way to a new land, Narnia. But when they awaken, an evil sorceress, Polly and Diggory, are sent on a quest to stop her. Oh, but when they awaken, evil sorceress, Polly and Diggory are sent on a quest to stop her before she destroys the world they've just discovered. So, I'm excited to revisit that. I am really, really excited to revisit this series. And again, I think there's one. Is there one? Yeah, there's one in here that I have never read because it was released long after I stopped reading fudge books. So I'm so excited to reread these and have one new to me story about this family. This is Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, which is remains one of the funniest books I have ever read in my life. It says, 2 is a crowd when Peter and his little brother Fudge are in the same room. Grown-ups think Fudge is absolutely adorable, but Peter and his pet turtle Dribble know the truth. From throwing temper tantrums to smearing mashed potatoes on the wall, Fudge causes mischief wherever he goes. Includes an all-new introduction from the author. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm very excited to revisit. I've wanted to revisit these books for a while and never have. I don't own any copies. I used to own them, but I've long since lost them. These are definitely not the covers that I remember. I think my Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing was maybe green, and there was a picture of Peter having a heated conversation with his father or something on the cover, something like that, with Fudge in the background getting up to mischief. I loved this series as a kid. It made me laugh so hard. My family also loved this series as a kid. It's gonna be an absolute joy to revisit this series. And then finally, I have a standalone that I read as a child and loved and promptly lost. This is definitely not the cover or the shape of the book that I remember. But I loved this book so much and lost it or got rid of it when we moved somewhere. I don't know. I only read it once and I actually don't remember how it ends. But I would love to read Treasures of the Snow by Patricia St. John. I've tried to reread this, get my hands on a copy a couple of times, but just kind of let it go several times. But now I have a copy and I am going to read it. I actually have a copy that's nice and floppy now. But this is the only book by Patricia St. John that I've ever read. I know she wrote many more. Maybe I'll read more by her this year. I don't know. This is middle grade Christian fiction from, well, this says 1999, but I know that I read this way before. Oh, 1948. There we go. 1948. I was like, I know I read this way before 1999. From 1948. So it has very in-your-face faith content, very in-your-face. If that is not something that you want from your middle grade books, probably don't pick this up. But I have such fond memories of this book, such fond memories of reading this book as probably like a fifth grader, sixth grader. And I don't remember the end, and I really, really want to reread this. So it is a beautifully written and engaging story that captures the innocence of childhood and the joys found in the little things. Learn as well what the healing power of repentance and forgiveness can bring as we heed our Savior's voice in our lives. Like I said, in your faith, in your face faith content. Since their publication over 50 years ago, Patricia St. John's classics, Treasures in the Snow and The Tanglewood Secret, have been adapted in this recent edition for a new generation of children. So it doesn't really tell you what it's about. I think it like takes place in the Alps. Yeah, Switzerland. Oh, interesting. It says, in these new editions, Mary Mills has sensitively adapted the language of the books for a new generation of children while preserving Patricia St. John's superb skills as a storyteller. So she's rewritten these, huh? Adapted them. Interesting. Yeah, it looks like it might take place at Christmas as I scan through. Maybe I'll read this in the interim between Christmas and New Year. So it does take place on Christmas Eve, a little bit of it anyway. And maybe I'll reread this in the interim between Christmas and New Year. I don't know. I have such fond memories of this and can't remember how it ends. And so I'd really, really like to revisit that. It's going to be a lot of nostalgia reading this year in 2026. A lot of nostalgia reading, a lot of rich storytelling, a lot of classics. And this particular TBR is a little bit heavy on the nonfiction. In 2025, I did not read a ton of nonfiction. I have had years in the past where I've been like, I need a 50-50 split or as close to a 50-50 split as I can. I didn't have any goals like that at all for 2025, and I veered way into fiction, and it felt so good. So I happen to have, five, if you include the Gary Lightbody. So I happen to have 5 nonfiction books that I'm just really dying to read. And yeah. So that is that. This has been super long because there's so many books on here and I wanted to tell you about every single one of them. I'm really excited about getting the year started in this vein with the nostalgia books, the rich storytelling series, several books that I'm going to read over a course of time, as long as it takes. We're going to slow down. But we're not going to lessen. I don't think we have to lessen just because we slow down a little bit. And I'm really, really excited. I love in the wintertime these big, long books. I love fantasy, a little bit of horror, a lot of romance, a lot of feel-good, childhood nostalgia. Yeah, really, really excited about all of these. Until we meet again. You know what you need to do. Me too. Let's go read.